You know that feeling, right? That one sound that just gets under your skin. A pen clicking, someone typing way too loud, or the classic, someone chewing with their mouth open. For most of us, it's just annoying. But what if it was more than that? What if it was a genuine, overwhelming experience? Well, that's what we're diving into today. And this question gets right to the heart of it. It's not just about being irritated. We're talking about a response that feels like pure, uncontrollable rage. So what is it that turns a simple, everyday sound into a trigger for such a massive emotional reaction? To answer that, we first need to put a name to what we're talking about. This isn't just a quirk, it's a recognized condition. And understanding its definition is the very first step. It's called misophonia. The name itself, which comes from the Greek for heat of sound, is pretty spot on. Misophonia is a neurological disorder where specific sounds, and that's the key, specific sounds, provoke this incredibly intense reaction. And it's not always just the sound itself. It can also be the visual cues that go along with it. So what kind of sounds are we talking about here? Well, here are some of the most common culprits. A lot of them, you'll notice, are related to eating and breathing, just normal human noises. But then you also have things like pen clicking or keyboard tapping. For someone with misophonia, these aren't just background noise. They are a direct personal assault on the senses. Now, this is a really important point to make. This is not about volume. That's a totally different condition called hyperacusis, where normal sounds can seem painfully loud. With misophonia, it's all about the sound's pattern or what it represents. A quiet sniffle can be just as infuriating as a loud crunch of a potato chip. It's the meaning, not the volume. Okay, so let's talk about that reaction. Because the trigger response, it goes so far beyond simple annoyance. It is a powerful, involuntary, and honestly, often a frightening, full body experience. Imagine a switch flipping in your brain. The second that trigger sound hits, the reaction is instant. It's powerful, and it feels completely and totally out of your control. And what that flip of the switch does is kick off a full-blown fight or flight response. We're not just talking about being irritated. This is a surge of intense anger or deep disgust. Your muscles tense up. Your heart starts racing. People often say they feel trapped, like they just have to escape the situation right now. The distress is absolutely real and completely overwhelming. And you can imagine what this leads to in the real world. As this quote from a major study points out, people start to avoid situations where they might hear a trigger sound. But this isn't just about skipping one meal. It becomes a pattern that can lead to avoiding family dinners, not being able to work in an open office, and over time, really profound social isolation. So, this all leads to the big question, right? Why? What in the world is happening in the brain to cause such an extreme reaction to such ordinary everyday sounds? Well, researchers think it might be a kind of neurological misfire. And here's where it gets really fascinating. Scientists now believe the problem isn't just how the brain is hearing the sound. Instead, it's that the brain is overreacting to the physical action that's producing the sound. So it's not just the crunch, it's the action of chewing that the brain is seeing as a threat. Okay, so let's break down how they think this works. First, you see or hear an action, like someone chewing. Then your brain's motor system, the part that plans movements, actually creates a little internal copy of that action. But here's the glitch. In a brain with misophonia, that mental copy sends a panic signal straight to the emotional centers, causing them to go into total overdrive. It's basically a neurological short circuit. For so long, people with misophonia were just told it was all in their head or that they were just being too sensitive. But now, and this is the really exciting part, thanks to a landmark study, there is real, concrete hope for an effective treatment. This is a huge deal. Researchers conducted the first ever randomized controlled trial, which is the absolute gold standard of medical research, to see if a specific kind of therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, could actually make a difference. And the results? They were just stunningly clear. You can see it right here on this chart. The group that got the CBT, they saw a massive drop in their symptoms. And the other group, the one on a waiting list that didn't get the therapy, pretty much no change at all. The data just speaks for itself. And if we want to put a number on it, 37% of the patients who got the therapy didn't just feel a little better. They showed what's called significant clinical improvement. That means their day-to-day lives actually meaningfully got better. And in that control group that didn't get any therapy, how many showed that same level of improvement? A big fat zero. Not a single person. I mean, the proof here is just undeniable. So what did this therapy actually involve? Well, it was a multi-part approach designed to tackle that brain misfire from all different angles. It included things like exercises to help patients shift their focus away from triggers, techniques to calm down that fight or flight response, and therapy to help reframe their thoughts about the sounds. And crucially, it also involved educating family and friends, which helps build a really vital support system. So what does all of this mean for the millions of people who've been living with misophonia? Well, it means this is a major turning point. The future looks very different now. The message here is really one of hope. This isn't something that people just have to put up with anymore. We now have solid scientific proof that misophonia can be effectively treated, leading to a huge improvement in a person's quality of life. So let's just quickly recap the big takeaways here. First and most importantly, misophonia is a real brain-based condition. It is not just being oversensitive. Second, remember the trigger is the meaning of the sound, not how loud it is. Third, there is a scientifically proven therapy, CBT, that actually works. And finally, for those of us who don't have it, a little bit of understanding and empathy can make a world of difference. And that kind of leaves us with a fascinating thought to end on. For decades, misophonia was dismissed. Now we know it's real, all thanks to neuroscience. It really makes you wonder, what other misunderstood conditions are out there, just waiting for us to take a closer, more compassionate look inside the incredible wiring of the human brain?